Sixer Nation, what is good? I see you all in the chat, man. Building the suspension is right. You wouldn't even believe what it's like trying to run this show, man. We are live on two shows, man. Philly Take with RB, Run It Back Philly, simulcasted at your leisure. The duo is back. We have some things to say about Doc Rivers, about Joel Embiid, James Harden, and the Sixers, who have started out the season 1-4. It's been a tumultuous start for a team with tons of expectations, and we are going to break it all down, man. Hit the like button right now for the grind, man. I mean, we just spent 20 minutes trying to get the technicalities worked out. We're doing our best here. Let us know. Drop a mic check in the chat. Drop a 1 if we sound good. Let us know. Hit the subscribe button wherever you're watching right now. Hit the bell as well. Once again, Philly Take with RB, Run It Back Philly. I'm RB. That's DJ Eastwood. And we're not too happy about the Sixers team right now. We're going to break it all down. We'll talk about what happened yesterday, the upcoming games, and a little bit of rumors going on today. Is Doc Rivers on the hot seat? DJ, what's going on, my guy?
I hope he is, man. I hope he is. How much longer is it going to take? I made a joke before the season started that we're going to go 1-10 and fire Doc Rivers. I was completely joking. I did not expect this team to look like this at this stage of the season. So, it's been surprising. It's been disappointing. It's been annoying. It's been frustrating. That's how I'm doing, man. And I'm still trying to update the thumbnail on the stream.
If you guys don't know what's going on, the reason it took us so long, by the way, is because we set up an entire live stream where, again, we're simulcasting here on two different channels. So wherever you're watching, hit the like button. And we started the stream using a software, and it creates an entire new stream. So the one that we set up is still scheduled and ready to go, but it just started a completely new one. We had a bunch of people waiting in there. They're probably still in the waiting room.
They are. There's probably 26 people waiting.
They're probably still in the waiting room. Meanwhile, we're live, man. We're live. So again, hit that like button, push this content around. But getting on topic, man, like you said, I'm frustrated. I don't know what's going on with this team. And really, I haven't had a chance to even talk or think about this all day. So I'm ready to rant. We'll start off with yesterday. I was thinking about doing one of my typical breakdown shows, going through, looking at film. I don't want to do that. The last couple games, with the exception of the Indiana Pacers game, the film should be burned. Okay. I mean, I have not seen something so disgraceful by this team, and especially with their expectations. Yesterday they come out, and how many times did I see a backdoor cut lead to an easy layup? How many times did I see a wide open three? It was just terrible. It was terrible. And, instead of going and looking at all this film, all right, I just want to pull up one play, if that is okay. I just want to go through one play. Just one play that, to me, defines not only the game yesterday, but the entire season thus far. Okay, and I want to hear your thoughts on this. Because this is just absolutely disgraceful in my opinion. Okay, so I found this video on Twitter. Shout out to Tiago, PHL, puts this up. 17 seconds of a Doc Rivers-led offense. So I want to talk about this right now. All right, let's just go through and watch this play. It's 17 seconds. And let's watch what happens. So you have James Harden up top. You have Tyrese Maxey, who's going to set the initial screen. Joel Embiid is over there, just, beyond the perimeter by 5 feet. Doesn't really know what he's doing, okay? So James Harden, on Fred VanVleet, by the way. He's going to dish it off to Maxey. Now look at the placement of the Sixers. Look at where everybody's at. Maxey, now guarded by Siakam.
Can you stop 1 second? How much time is on the shot clock right there? I can't see it. Can you see that?
I can't see it either.
I specifically remember this. They ran a little bit of a guard screen at the top, and James got a switch.
Yeah.
VanVleet came over and he gave it back to Maxey with Siakam on him, which we're talking about Doc Rivers' offense, but I don't understand why James didn't want to take Van Vliet one-on-one right there. I was so mad about this.
And anyway, here's my issue. Look at where Joel Embiid is standing at. Look at where Joel is standing at. We've had this happen too many times. But anyway, Maxey has it. He's thinking, and the shot clock's winding down. Now there's about a few seconds left. He goes to step back, and he realizes that Siakam is right in his face. He's going to smack it into the third row. So Maxey, with 2 seconds on the shot clock, decides to pass it up. James Harden's like, what? The ball's coming back to me with a second and a half to go? Meanwhile, Joel Embiid's calling for the ball on the opposite wing. Do you get the theme here? Do you get the common theme? What is this? What is going on this play? How is this the offense that you have created with Tyrese Maxey, James Harden, and Joel Embiid, along with guys who can hopefully knock down shots like Tobias Harris and Melton was on the floor, but even PJ Tucker. My point, and what I've been stressing, DJ, for the first 5 games of this season, this team has absolutely no identity. I'm at the point where I think Doc Rivers just says, go out there, throw it against the wall, and see if it sticks. I'm being serious. I do not see an identity. How does this happen? And James Harden just has to flail it up.
And actually, I stopped that too. And I'm not bailing out James here because but because with a second left on the shot clock, they're probably not going to give you that. But if you really watch it, he did hack him across both arms, and James was just like, "Yo, what the." You know what I mean? But so it was a foul technically if you're really watching in slow motion, but
he did. But
yeah, that was James trying to bait because he had 1 second left, and he was like, "Let me see if I can call a foul right here."
For sure, I have no problem with James Harden doing that, but he shouldn't have even had the ball with a second and a half to go, and then he has to flail it up. But like, what are we doing? What is the idea? That's the only play I want to look at from this game because it just burned my eyes. But why are the guys positioned like this? Like, how, as a coach, is this what you're running with 3:45 to go in the game? You're down by 7. This is a key possession in the game. And that is what you draw up? No, he didn't draw it up. He said, go out there and see what happens.
Yeah. You're the one that tweeted it because I remember I was hitting you up last night. I couldn't find the Doc Rivers press conference because I wanted to react to that. That would have been YouTube gold. I couldn't find it anywhere. I found Nick Nurse's press conference on NBA League Pass. I found everything except for Doc Rivers' press conference. Anyway, you're the one that tweeted that Doc Rivers said this offense would be so good if they just played right. That statement right there blows my mind because it's like the guy doesn't even realize that he's the coach of the team. And then when you see a play like this and you look at 2 guys over here and Joel on the other side, and you realize they're all 3 on different pages. None of them are doing the same thing. None of them are working together. There's not. And then you take into account what he said. It starts to show on the court that I don't think he coaches at all. I literally think because the way that he talked about that, this offense would look so good if they just played right. So he just puts the ball on the court and says, go play. Yeah. And then he's like, oh, they're not playing right. Well, it's your job to get them to play right.
It's unbelievable.
What?
It's unbelievable. Yeah, here's the quote. I literally tweeted it out because I couldn't believe it upon first hearing of it. Quote, it could be such a better offense if we just played right. How do you say that? How do you say that as a coach? I mean, this team is 1-4 after 5 games. I don't think we ever thought they would be 1-3, 1-4, right? And they come out, and it's not even the fact that we've lost 4 games. It's how we have lost the games. You lose to the tanking Spurs. You come out, you lose to the shorthanded Bucks. Yeah, the Celtics put up a good fight, and so did we, but we still probably had that game potentially in hand as well. And then we go ahead and we lose to the Toronto Raptors, who, by the way, are not nearly as talented as the Philadelphia 76ers. But the fact of the matter is they play basketball the right way. They're in every spot at the right time. I said this last night on my show. Like playing the Raptors feels like you're in a room with a bunch of hot air and you can't breathe. They're always up on you. They bring doubles. You have nowhere to go. And we take the pressure. And this is a team we just beat last year in the playoffs. And they came out. And of course, Doc Rivers in the post-game presser says, oh, well, they had a bunch of motivation because we beat them in the playoffs. Come on, man. We're the better team. We're the better team.
He said that
I'm
too?
frustrated. He said that too. He said a lot.
I gotta find this press conference, man. That's unreal. The things that he's saying, and the things that he said last year blew my mind. Like Brett Brown, I didn't think was a good coach. X's and O's wise, I didn't think he really knew what he was doing. I didn't really think he knew how to handle an NBA team on the floor. But he didn't get up there and say like completely asinine things in press conferences. He would get up there and say, "We weren't good tonight. I need to be better. I need to get my guys to be better." He would even say, "I challenge Ben Simmons to shoot a 3 next game," whatever. Yeah. He was like humble. This Doc Rivers thing, man, this guy's on his own mountaintop. Like this guy thinks he is the king of kings when it comes to NBA coaches, to the point where he thinks that players are supposed to show up and know how to play together. And it's weird, but it's coming off to me as like an honor system. Like I'm a legendary coach and players have to honor me by showing up and playing well. I'm at a loss for words with this guy, man. I thought he was crazy last year. He's taking it to a new level every single day. Every single day he's taking it to a new level. It's crazy.
It really is.
I don't even know what else to say about him.
Yeah, it really is. Shout out to Babyface Ham with the $2 super chat. Thank you very much. Says, who would we hire when Doc Rivers gets fired? Well, that's an interesting question. You probably would promote from within if I had to guess, but you have a couple options there waiting, right? Kind of next in line for the job. And we'll get to that in just a second. But yeah, I mean, the fact of the matter is now we start hearing whispers. So I go on Twitter midday and this is what I see. NBA Central and a bunch of other, Twitter pages putting this out. Report: Doc Rivers' future with the Philadelphia 76ers is, quote, up in the air. Now, I went and checked this out, and essentially it was Bill Simmons who, says a lot of things around the map. It's pretty much saying that there are NBA sources who have said that at this point, if the Sixers don't come out and look better, Doc Rivers might not have a future here for a lot longer. And, we are 5 games into a season. Do I think things will click better eventually? Yes, I do. Do I think these players will step up? Because make no mistake, the players don't get an excuse either. I've been seeing bad body language at points from Joel Embiid. Maxey sometimes just kind of takes it off the gas pedal. Even Harden at points, right, kind of gets way, too, I'm not going to say selfish, but really just, over aggressive with the ball, right? He just holds it for 5, 6, 7 possessions, 20 seconds into the shot clock. Now he has played well, and I'm not taking that away from him. All I'm saying is that I feel like these guys don't know their roles and they don't look as interested. And you come out in this season, you're 1-4. I mean, we're talking about not being too far away from a point where this could really go downhill. Like this ship could sink if we don't get this on the right track. And it's frustrating, man.
Yeah, look, there's people that, there's someone in the chat right now. At first it was Brett Brown's fault. Now it's Doc's fault. There's certain people that don't want to, for whatever reason, don't want to blame the coach. But when you see the things that you're seeing on the court, and I said this a couple of times on my show now, but I'll say it again, when you do the process of elimination and what you keep landing on is lack of hustle, lack of effort, communication on defense. These are repetition things. These are things that other teams are good at because they worked on it over and over and over and over and over again. They knew what guy was supposed to slide where when the offense shows what look with this guy cutting backdoor and so. We saw this so many times in 4 games where somebody cuts backdoor, somebody thinks they're supposed to be watching the ball or something, and then nobody knows where the guy went. Just wide open backdoor cuts. And there goes my camera. Man, we're doing great so far with the technology today.
Loving it, man.
We'll be back in a minute. We should be back.
There we go.
In 4 games, you've seen so many backdoor cuts, so much miscommunication on defense. And to me, that's repetition, and that happens in practice. I don't think this team practices. I don't know what they do in practice. It doesn't seem like they work on things in repetition to perfect them. It just seems like they go through drills, they do shooting drills, they do the normal NBA drills, whatever it is, and then they say, all right, game's on Tuesday night, see you there. and they show up and they're completely out of sync and slow, like decision-making, communication, reaction time. It's just, but anyway, all of those things, effort, communication, all those things come back to coaching. How are some people refusing to blame the coach for these things? You can blame the players all you want. It's the players too. They're showing, like you said, bad body language, lack of effort, lack of hustle, but the miscommunication and the transition defense and all that stuff, it has to be on the coach, man. It's the common denominator here. How else would you have the worst transition defense in the league 3 years in a row? How else? Like it's insane. You have the worst transition defense right now in the NBA by a large margin. They said on StatMuse or something. So it's not even close right now.
There's just so much I can say right now. First and foremost, when Doc Rivers came out, actually, let me take a step back. After every single game this season, what you just echoed about the communication, I have said after every game, there is no defensive communication. I mean, a couple games ago, Paul Reed and George Niang are trying to rip each other for a rebound, and it ends up bouncing to the other team, and they start screaming at each other. How did those things happen with a professional team that has expectations? I will never know. But when Doc Rivers came out after the second game of the year against the Milwaukee Bucks, and he said, we are not ready to win, that really, really rubbed me the wrong way. And I'm starting to see it. We're not ready to win because what did we do all off season? This was the off season where you finally have a chance to bring the guys together, get that chemistry going, establish a foundation, and create an identity. And what did you do all off season? We saw you magnified on the NBA highlighted practice and training camp. It looked like you were talking. Honestly, I don't think they were. Were. How do you come out after a second game of the year and say, we're not ready to win? And even last night, he said, we can't sneak out wins until we're playing the right way. I mean, we are the better team. And another thing that's really getting on my nerves is what's going on with the guys that we got? We don't have enough talent. Yes, we do. DJ just said it. When you go year after year after year, we're talking about a team that was inches away from the Eastern Conference Finals multiple times, and that was with a guy who would not play the offensive side of the game. And now you go and you address the needs that we obviously had in the playoffs. The way we're playing right now is the way we ended off last season. We looked like we didn't care. We just flopped on our home floor, and you went out and got better. You added more pieces. You added the dog type of players. And here's how I know it's the coach. There is absolutely no way PJ Tucker looks like this. There is no way he looks like this. I watched him last year in Miami. I watched him in Houston. He's not this bad. What is going on right now? It has to be a philosophy thing, because how come all the players we get and bring to Philadelphia just lose their talent all of a sudden? It can't be every single guy. And there's something going on. It's not all on Doc, but it has to start there. But when you set the tone that, we're not ready to win, then I can see that energy, that attitude reflecting upon the play right now. And it's as clear as day to me. And if you don't come out better, well, something might have to happen.
Yeah, when he says we're not ready to win, that's crazy, because not only the NBA TV mic'd up practice BS, that was like now that I think about it, that was like a VH1 reality show. Like, cool, hey guys, it was probably completely staged from behind the camera. Hey, you're gonna walk up and say this to the guys, and I'm the more I see this, the more I'm not buying anything that happened in that practice. I think there was more movement on offense in that practice on NBA TV than we've seen on the court in the NBA so far. I want to know what the heck you guys did in North Carolina or South Carolina. Like they also blew that up in the offseason. They also made sure the media knew the Sixers are going to South Carolina for training camp, and we're I don't know what that. Like, did you play basketball down there, or did you go fishing? Like, it did, chemistry, but we need you to build chemistry like with a basketball on a basketball court. I don't know if you guys just went out to dinner and then went fishing and then hung out in nightclubs. Yeah, that's chemistry, like as far as personal relationships, but we need you to, play basketball better. So I don't know what they did in South Carolina. They came back, the season starts, and he says, we're not ready to win. It's absolutely ridiculous. You're seeing teams that just added brand new players. The New York Knicks are 3-1. The Cleveland Cavaliers don't look this bad. There's plenty of teams that added new players that look ready to win, and this team doesn't. And I don't know what they did all off season. I don't know what they do in practice. They're 1-4. And then speaking of the roster too, we added things that we thought we needed to add. Daryl Morey added things that he thought he needed to add. I know, some people say that he added the has-been Houston Rockets, or he added a more older, slower players. That's why we keep getting out rebounded and we're bad at transition defense. And that's an opinion that people have. But the way I look at it is, last year we beat the Raptors in the playoffs without PJ Tucker, Montrezl Harrell, Daniel House, DeAnthony Melton. Joel Embiid got injured. We still had a chance to beat the Miami Heat with Paul Reed and Matisse Thybulle. So you added these 4 new players, and you're actually worse than you were by playing Paul Reed and Matisse Thybulle off the bench.
And if I could just
go ahead.
And if I could just add right there on that point, and if I would have told you right before the season that we would be getting this level of James Harden, along with all that, along with the additions, and you told me we're 1-4, I mean, I just couldn't believe that.
Like, maybe we didn't need to add anything. Maybe we just needed James Harden to get back into shape, Tyrese Maxey to their step, and Joel Embiid to be healthy. And maybe, honestly, the bench was just fine because you had youth and athleticism coming off the bench. Now you gave Doc Rivers older, slower players, and what does he do? He doesn't line them up against the guys he was playing last year and say, who's better in this matchup? He says, Montrezl Harrell has played longer in the NBA. He's in the game first. He says, PJ Tucker's played longer in the NBA. He's playing for 40 straight minutes. I don't care what he looks like on the court. It's I don't know. I'm starting to think, I went down game by game in the Toronto series from last year's playoffs. Paul Reed played 10 minutes a game. He had all of the backup center minutes. Matisse Thybulle, we say what we say about his shooting, about what he does on the offensive side of the floor, how he hinders the offense. He played 15 minutes a game when he was available in that series, and we won every game that he played in. So you're trying to match youth and athleticism with youth and athleticism. Doc Rivers just went up against the Raptors last night, that same young athletic team, and said, I'm bringing George Niang and Montrezl Harrell off the bench first. I'm leaving. I don't know what. Listen, I know Matisse has his struggle shooting the ball, but I didn't expect the guy to not play a second yet in the season.
Yeah, especially when you needed to stop. But I think what you're alluding to right there, without really saying it, is, we're essentially, all of us have to feel like we are making almost an excuse for why Doc Rivers is doing certain things. Yeah, we could have kept the same benches last year. Maybe with another coach, they're getting more out of them. We go and add different players. We shouldn't say, oh, well, maybe, like if Paul Reed got minutes, or if Matisse Thybulle got minutes, or if we add DeAnthony Melton this offseason and he's playing well, it doesn't matter who it is. And that's what me and you are both trying to say up here, is like, it doesn't matter who is here. It's the same result. How come last year we had stretches of games where we're just lethargic, where Joel has to drop 40 to go out and beat the Magic on a Monday night? Like, I don't understand how these things keep happening. And that's my main takeaway from the first 5 games. I'm not mad that we lost the games. I'm mad that we keep losing the same exact way. It doesn't change, and it is frustrating. And if I'm Daryl Morey right now, and I go out and get these pieces, and I get James, and I dump the Ben Simmons drama, and I put these contracts and this roster in a much more optimal position moving forward. And I really feel, and everybody's kind of emphasizing that this is, the championship hope type of year. This is the year we get over the hump, and we come out looking like this with no energy after all the hype. I mean, I got to be furious. I have to be absolutely furious, and something needs to happen, man.
Yeah, I agree. And shout out to Aaron Cat with the $5 super chat. I don't know if you can see that on your end. He said we have a 6'5" guard who can we have a 6'5" guard who can defend and shoot and pass a little bit, named Shake Milton. Did he die? Did he blank Doc's wife? Where was he? Yeah. So, I understand DeAnthony Melton, playing DeAnthony Melton. I like DeAnthony Melton, but I don't think that means Shake Milton should get 0 minutes, especially the beginning of the season. This is when we're supposed to be experimenting. I want to go back to the Spurs game because it's actually funny to me that a coach that Doc Rivers compared himself to last season, in a snarky little comment that he made when he asked the reporter, would you ask Greg Popovich that question? And the reporter replied and said, yes, I would. But he put himself on the level of Greg Popovich. And then game 3, Greg Popovich with nobody but, I don't even remember the guys' names, Kerryon Johnson and something Vassell.
Devin Vassell,
beats Doc Rivers. Took a team of nobodies and whooped up on Doc Rivers' $300 million team. He's like, there might have been something in Greg Popovich's back pocket there. You know what I mean? Hell, you compare yourself to me. Let me show you something real quick. I can take guys you never heard of and beat you because I'm a better coach than you. So that was interesting to me. And also, I think we're both saying that he's not getting the best out of, no matter what lineup he goes with, he's not getting the best out of these players. And you said it, how do these players come to our team and suddenly they look like they lose their talent? I think we underestimate what coaching is in the NBA as far as player performance, putting players in the right positions, understanding how to get the most out of each player based on their skill sets and their potential. And I can always go back to a Paul George quote. You know, Paul George in LA, he said, Doc Rivers was trying to use me like JJ Redick, and I'm more of a ball screen ISO guy. So even Paul George, incredibly talented triple threat scorer, felt like he was being used wrong in Doc Rivers' offense. So we can start to point to that too. I'm starting to think with a different mindset and a different energy, you will see different things from the same exact roster.
Yeah, and it continues to show itself year after year. Also, shout out to Duncan with the $5 super chat. Says, you're the man, RB, but he really thanks to the poor Doc's fault. I'm not really sure what that means, but we're up here just saying the same thing, man. I mean, it's frustrating to see these results to come out of a season like this with all this hope and expectation. And, you know, I don't want to go through the whole box score last night, but let me just say this, all right? And while I'm doing this, let us know in the chat, all right? Is Doc on the hot seat? Should he be on the hot seat already 5 games into a season? Let us know, because we're going to talk about that. But if I said to you, DJ, last night, without knowing any context, that Tyrese Maxey, James Harden, and Joel Embiid would combine for 80 against the Toronto Raptors, you would most likely think we won that game. You most likely would think we won that game, but no, we lost by 10, and it was more than that. I mean, we got dominated, and in the fourth quarter, we bring it back a little bit, and then we throw up a couple deep heaves, and the game's over. Like, again, no identity on either side of the ball. And just one thing I wanted to say about the defensive side, because we were talking about it earlier. I'm really tired of seeing Joel drop back and drop coverage, and really all the Raptors did all night was just pick us apart in the little pick and roll and shoot 10-foot mid-ranges. That's what they did all night. And anytime that happens, another man tries to cheat over, and, you know, Fred VanVleet, OG Anunoby, they just find the wide open shooter in the corner. I've seen that play recycled about 10 to 20 to 30 times every single game. If I can see that, if you can see that, if we can see that, do you not watch film? Do you not go back and watch the game? I've seen it many, many times. And then when Joel does decide to come up, finally, they hit him with a backdoor cut and somebody gets beat, you know, they're sleepwalking. But really, I just want to say, I don't understand how the same things continue to happen every single game with no adjustment.
Yeah, the only explanation I can come up with is he doesn't go back and watch film with the team or anything like that, because, again, exactly what he said in the press conference, his team needs to play better. So to me, he goes in the locker room and he yells at the team in a condescending way, as if he's not in charge, and says, you guys need to play better. And then they come out the next game and he just hopes that they play better. Like, I don't think seems to me like there's no actual strategy or watching film and adjusting to what you saw or anything. Like, look here, Joel, this is where you need to be a step up on the screen. And this is when you step back, and you're stepping back too soon and you're giving wide open jumpers. I don't feel like there's any coaching involved in keep in mind, Joel Embiid started playing basketball when he was 18 years old. He learned the game in about 3 years. He's not a master of basketball. He's really not. He's an incredibly naturally talented, rare, you know, species of human being, but he still needs to be taught things when it comes to basketball, clearly, especially defensively, because he's just, the way he plays defense, his drop coverage on the screens is insane, and I've seen it for years now, where all you need to do is hit L1. You know what I mean? You hit L1, you call a simple ball screen, and you're wide open.
Yeah. And I don't want to harp on, you know, I don't want to only make it seem like it's Doc, because again, it is partly the players as well. But just going back to your point about Joel, another thing that strikes me as just odd, Doc Rivers doesn't tell us until game 1 of the season that Joel Embiid essentially couldn't walk for 2 months. And then now after game 4, he says, I'm going to scale back his minutes. So first off, you had him playing 38 minutes a game for the first 3 games. Then you tell us that you're going to scale back his minutes. And then yesterday, you take him out with 4 minutes to go. I tweeted it out. I said, why is Joel Embiid coming out of the game with 4 minutes to go when you're down 8 points? And he came out for 1 minute, and everybody was screaming, oh, did you see how he looked? He was gassed. So what? It's 4 minutes left in the game. Like, this is a crucial possession, and you take out the only guy that was able to score at the rim. I just don't understand some of these decisions sometimes.
Yeah, I saw you say that, and I actually didn't remember seeing that happen. Maybe I was too busy like doing a 360 in my living room screaming about the end of the game, because I didn't actually notice him come out for 1 minute with 4 minutes left, and that is weird. What would actually be the reason for that? I remember a couple games ago when Doc took somebody out on a specific like possession with 30 seconds left and put Matisse Thybulle in the game for 10 seconds to try to get a steal or something, but what would actually be the reason for taking Joel Embiid out for 1 minute with 4 minutes left? I completely don't understand that either. And the plantar fasciitis thing, somebody's lying. Somebody's lying. This is a classic standing in a room. The teacher's standing in the room with 4 school children. 4 of them are saying 4 different things. Somebody in this room is lying. Yeah. There's no way you fed us this all off season. Then you show up, you look completely out of shape, you look completely tired and worn down, and we're all confused. And then you come out and say, oh, yeah, by the way, he had this all off season, he couldn't work out. Why wouldn't you tell us that? So then the fans would, there's conspiracies on that too, that you wanted to feed the fans this championship hopes so you could sell a bunch of season tickets before the season starts.
Yeah.
There could be business decisions behind things like that too. So I don't know, but that somebody's lying about that, because that's ridiculous. Come out 2 games later and then say it, and now you're going to scale his minutes back when the first game of the season he had a 36% usage rating. If you knew he was out of shape and had a plantar fasciitis all off season, would you give him a 40% usage rate in the first game? Nothing makes any sense.
It doesn't make sense. And shout out to everybody in the chat, man. Once again, we're live on Philly Take with RB, running back Philly. We're simulcasting right now. Hit the like button wherever you're watching. Help us, grow this and push this content around. Really, the best way we can put it is that we are very confused after 5 games of the year. I don't even know, like, obviously I'm pissed off, I'm frustrated, but I'm also very confused on how this is the product so far. Shout out to Kenny Smith with the $5 super chat. He says, Doc is just stuck in his ways. He'll never change. The sooner Morey realizes it and fires him, the better the team will be. And that's really the next topic I want to get into. But before I do that, I want to shout out to Joel Ramos. He came into my show last night when I was just flipping out. And he said something that really resonated with me. He said, Daryl Morey went out and got a lot of quality players this offseason, but instead of bringing the dog culture to Philadelphia, they adapted to the culture that was already here. And I've been thinking about that today, and, it makes so much sense. And that's really why these other guys come in here. They adapt to what is happening here, because I said all offseason, if you've been following my videos, I said, now that we have these dogs, we have this mentality, right? This toughness. In big games, we shouldn't lie down. Now that we have PJ Tucker, who's in the locker room screaming at people, or Montrez, who will scream up to the arena, like, we shouldn't look like this in big games against the Celtics, Bucks. And if we do, there's only one person that we can really point to, right? There's only one person. It's the coach. It starts there, man.
There's only one person, and with them 1-4, it's not just losing the games. It's how they lost the games. They haven't really looked close against those, against the Celtics and the Bucks. I don't think either of those games were within reach as far as winning the game. I'm overloading something here. My camera doesn't like it. I don't think either of those games were really within reach. And to me, that you're worse than you were last year. And if you're worse than you were last year, then I'm really confused. I just don't get it. How how do you look worse than you did last year? I feel like last year when we were healthy, we felt like we could compete with anybody, especially in the regular season.
Mm-hmm.
And the way that they look right now at 1-4, the way that they've been losing these games, it doesn't look to me like they can beat anybody that's competent. It looks to me like they're going to lose to Toronto tomorrow night. They're going to lose to Chicago on Saturday night, and they might beat the Wizards on Monday. But even that, Kyle Kuzma might drop 50 on them.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's where Sixers fans are kind of wondering right now. And that's what I've been thinking about as well. And I would love to hear your take on it. You know, when you look at the timeline, I guess, obviously it's very early into a season. We know that Joel, James usually take a little while to get going. Maxey has looked completely out of it. Tobias looks lost. We could go down the roster. But if you're looking at this team right now, like how far is the limit before you think the ship could sink? Like, if it was up to you, when do you start really looking at this like, oh man, we need to make a change? Like, objectively speaking, is it now? Is it after 10 more games, 20 more games, all-star break? And would they really do it? I mean, I think that's the question we're kind of all pondering right now.
Yeah, if it was up to me, when day one, when he came in here and said, you know, we hired him because we thought he was going to be this old school hard-nosed coach that was going to tell Ben Simmons to shoot the ball. And day one, he said, yeah, I actually don't care if he shoots. You know, he does so many other things well. I would have fired him before he even finished that sentence, because that's the exact reason we hired you, bro. If we thought you were going to baby the kid more than Brett Brown did, we would. Like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
So he kind of went against everything we thought he was going to be day one when he came in here. But as far as this season goes, man, again, I was joking when I said they're going to start the season 1-10 and we're going to fire Doc Rivers. If that ends up being on the money, I will be absolutely shocked, because I thought they had talent at least. You know, I thought
they do.
You know, you can overcome lackluster, predictable, poor coaching with enough talent. This is looking like he's not getting enough out of the players in general. Mm-hmm. And yeah, if they go. Say they're 1 and say they beat the Wizards on Monday. I didn't look at the rest of the roster. Say they're 3-8.
Yeah.
This is supposed to be a championship level team. Daryl Morey did everything he did this offseason. We're win now mode. You know, if it's looking like, hey, this isn't looking like a championship level team, then you got to do it sooner than later. I really think if you start the season 2-9. 3-10, whatever, that could definitely be the end of Doc Rivers in Philly. But another topic, I don't know if you had this on the agenda, we owe the guy $24 million. Mm-hmm. And Josh Harris is not exactly a basketball fan. Josh Harris doesn't exactly care if a team actually wins or not. Josh Harris is an investor, just like any sports owner. Their goal is to sell hope to the fans. Their goal is to have a team that's good enough that all the fans buy in so they can raise the jersey sales, raise the ticket prices, make a profit, and move on to the next season. Why would they care if they actually get a trophy out of it? So when you look at that $24 million, is Josh Harris, it has to be a money thing for him to get fired. Josh Harris and the team has to look at and say, our sales are about to tank when everybody stops buying jerseys and stops coming to the arena. So is it worth getting rid of that $24 million to do this? That's what has to balance here. He's not just going to cut $24 million because he thinks he's a bad coach, because I don't think he knows what a bad coach is in the first place.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you. I personally believe that looking at this Sixers team, I was going to give it, 20, 25 games, but after the first 2 games, I've been saying the Sixers have had an easy stretch. 8 games that they should realistically win about 6 or 7 of them. Right now, I'm not confident that they can win any of them. And the next 4 games read as the following: the Raptors again, the Wizards, and the New York Knicks. Then we go and play, I think it's Phoenix and then Atlanta.
Bulls on Saturday.
Oh, you're right. You're right.
Raptors, Bulls, Wizards.
Raptors, Bulls, Wizards, and the Knicks. So that's the next 5 games. In my personal opinion, if you come out of those 5 games and you lose 3 of them, you lose 4 of them, and it looks the same way, guys don't look interested, they're letting up easy shots, layups, I would not be surprised at all if we saw some type of shakeup. Not going to say exactly what it is. Maybe it's a Doc Rivers firing. I don't know. You need to get this on the right track quickly. You cannot start a season like this and, everybody's been talking about the Phillies, right? Doc Rivers is to Joe Girardi what Sam Cassell is to Rob Thompson, right? Maybe you need a spark. Maybe you need someone that's just going to ignite that new fuse, because right now these players don't look like they believe in what Doc is preaching. They don't look like they believe in themselves. They look old, slow. They look like they're done, and they're hill. They're on the bottom of the hill, when in fact this should be where we're at the peak. This is supposed to be the year. And I think if you end up going 2-8, 2-9, if you end up losing these games, I don't know how far you can take it before you could say, oh yeah, we can come back from that. I don't know. It's a mentality thing, and we just have a lot of issues right now. It's frustrating.
Yeah, because the way that they're losing these games, that's what, if there's people that think we're being pessimistic, or there's still people that come in my comments like, it's only been 5 games, chill out. I'm like, no, it's been 40 years. Mm-hmm. But it's the way they're losing these games, and that's why now we're looking at this schedule saying, can we even beat these teams? Because we're losing games based off of hustle and effort, and getting beat in transition, getting out rebounded. And do you randomly see that changing? Like, I'm seeing so many bad things from players defensively that just, and like you said, body language. I've even seen Tyrese Maxey do it, and that starts to scare me. Like there's an infection now in the team that's like seeping into our young prized possession Tyrese Maxey, who lets somebody cut back door and then hangs his head, throws his hands up, and walks off the court. I'm like, I don't like any of this.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's why we're looking at this schedule and saying that, because like, can you, do you randomly see the hustle and the effort changing? I don't see it changing. That's the problem here. And that's not about makes or misses, or this guy just needs to get hot or something. We're losing games in the nitty gritty. We're getting out hustled and out worked. Yeah. And I don't see it changing randomly.
Yeah. And right now this team should be 4-1. I'll say it if nobody else wants to. We should be 4-1. We should have beat the shorthanded Bucks. We obviously should have beat the Spurs, and we should have beat the Raptors last night. And I agree with you wholeheartedly. It's not that we're losing the games. It's how this team looks like they did not prepare the entire offseason. And that is just not, that's not responsible enough. That's not acceptable enough. That just can't happen. That, like, I don't know how many times we can just chalk it up and say, oh, we'll click it together, we'll get better. Yeah, I think Joel's going to get in shape. Yeah, I think Maxey's going to find it for a stretch of games. But where is the long-term development, and where is us getting to our goal? Right now, do you think the Sixers are going to get out of the second round again? I don't, by the way we're looking, by the way we seem to be playing. And at some point, you might have to make a change. You might have to throw something in there, right? Even if you move Maxey to the bench, which I've been hearing a lot, maybe you bring Thibault in and he gets a couple steals in a couple minutes. We don't do anything different. Every game, we go into the game with the same textbook, the same plan. It's the same thing. We don't have a plan. That is our plan. We don't have one. We go into the game and we say, we're going to see what happens. Doc Rivers subs his guys in with 6:30 to go in the fourth quarter. I mean, he brings Joel Embiid out with 6 minutes to go in the first. Like, I can literally go step by step and explain what is going to happen in the game. And that should not happen. It should not happen. It's unacceptable, man.
Yeah, it brought me back to, playing Paul Millsap on Giannis Antetokounmpo for 8 straight minutes where he gave up 17 points, because that doesn't make sense. And then in the Raptors series, there's just no way you look at that roster, and it's not necessary. It hasn't been really an offensive issue for us. Like, we're not dropping 130, 140, or 150. But if we play good defense, we could be winning these games 112 to 109, 112 to 105. We could be winning these games. So as poor and as awkward and as, clunky the offense has looked a lot this season so far, I'll give that a pass as far as chemistry and working together and figuring things out. It's the defensive side of the ball. And then when you see the Toronto Raptors, you as a coach, you don't say, my first substitution is going to be defenders to try to, match the athleticism. Your first substitutions are George Niang and Montrezl Harrell against the Toronto Raptors. That's insane to me. Yeah. That's absolutely insane to me. I love George Niang. I think he's a great guy. He hits when he makes threes, he's valuable, but come on, defensively, like, he stands as much of a chance as I do against Pascal Siakam and Scotty Barnes and OG Anunoby and Precious Achiuwa and Chris Boucher. And how many 6'11" athletes do they have that can jump from the foul line? But Yeah, I don't know, man. Like you had to go Matisse Thybulle, Paul Reed to me there. But
Yeah.
Doc's, like you said, he has it on paper. This is what guys going to play, and I'm going to do that.
Well, it's funny. It's funny. The last thing we'll say about Doc, I saw a quote a little while ago, a couple hours ago, and it was from Austin Krell, and he was pretty much just speaking on what Doc Rivers said last night because they kind of asked him, I guess. I didn't hear I turned it off. I couldn't hear it anymore. But they asked him about Paul Reed and Montrez. Like, why are you going to Paul Reed for 3 minutes a game and then Trez for 4 minutes? Like, one guy plays one half, the other guy plays the other half, which I don't understand. And essentially his response, paraphrasing it, he says, you know, where we're at with those guys is that we like Paul Reed defensively and we like Montrezl Harrell offensively. And he said, that's where we're at. Okay, that's great. So how come yesterday Paul Reed doesn't get the minutes against an athletic team with a bunch of little wings and guards? Like, it does not make sense. Reed came in, he was trying to rip the ball away from guys. He was going up for jump balls. Like he immediately made havoc in that game. And then he saw the bench. Like, these guys don't get a rhythm. Same thing with that last year with Isaiah Joe. Same thing with Shake Milton. Like, these guys come in, they get little moments to try to show, you know, what I guess Doc is expecting, but you know, they don't even get to stay in more than a couple games and then they're gone. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, Doc said the same thing last season in a press conference when he said he was real arrogant about it. Remember this when he said, "I'm going to break it down for you." This is what he said. "I'm going to break it down for you, just so everyone's clear, okay? When we play small, we're going to go with Paul. When we play big, we're going to go with DeAndre." And that might have been Austin Krell right there, or I forget who it was, but he responded to him and he was like, "But that's not what you've been doing." Like, straight up. You just told me something that's not what you're doing, bro. You went DeAndre Jordan against small. You're lying to me right now. So I just don't get it. And he still hates Paul Reed. I'll never understand it. It, like the Paul Reed victory tour comments, he just doesn't want the kid to play. I don't understand it. His ego is overtaking all of his decision making. He wants to be right more than he wants to actually make the best decision for the team. It's crazy right now. Yeah.
Shout out to Duncan with the $5 super chat. This was from a little while ago. Not really sure what that means either, but appreciate the super chat. Shout out to everybody in here, though. Hit that like button. We got Mr. 89 with a $5 super chat. He says, if we developed Reed, Bassey, Springer, and Joe, we would not look so old. Doc's influence transcends beyond what's on the court, and it's sad and scary. Yeah, you know, we've had issues drafting before, but we finally get a group of guys that we can work with, and they don't see the floor. And I guess it's just the philosophy at this point of Doc Rivers. And it just, you know, I mean, honestly, the point where I really was sinking on Doc and I was pretty much out on him was when he went on the Paul Reed victory tour thing. I just thought that was inexcusable at that point in time.
It is.
And,
it is.
You know, I was willing to give it a shot given the fact that our roster is this good now. And again, I really don't care what anybody says. Like, we are better as a roster up and down from last year. People wanted athleticism, right? Didn't we get younger? Didn't we get DeAnthony Melton? We got Danny Green out of here. Then don't we have Paul Reed? We gave Bassey a shot. That didn't work out. But you went in there and you addressed certain needs, right? And we just look even worse. And we look even worse. And I don't, you know, at this point, I'm struggling to really come to grips with, are we going to click? Is it going to get going? Or are we just this bad and we need to shake things up? That's where my head's at. And I really don't know the answer.
Yeah. When he said that Paul Reed victory tour thing, that's like unacceptable for a coach to like be condescending towards a young player who just had a great performance in the playoffs, if I'm not mistaken. I just, you know, like, why would you be angry that the player that everyone's been telling you to play had a good game? You should be like, oh, you know, you guys were right. But he won't do that. That's so like on paper narcissistic. That's so to a T narcissistic. He's so angry that you're wrong that you don't even want to admit that this player had a good game and should continue to play. And that was last year. And here we are again. And I think the guy's delusional, man. I really do. I think he's stuck in his own haze. I think he's not hearing or seeing anything. And he doesn't believe anyone else knows what they're doing or what they're talking about. Yeah. It's a recipe for disaster, and you're seeing it right now.
Yeah. And honestly, this is just us. It's almost a therapeutic way of just like trying to get through these games. I mean, we have a long season to go. Like we haven't even started yet, essentially. And you know, we're already feeling this way. It's not a good thing to have. But I want to ask you about, you know, Joel Embiid, James Harden. You know, there's a lot of talk about these guys, Maxey not getting incorporated. You know, how do you feel about the offense? Like, how much blame does Joel have so far for the way, I guess, maybe he's not in shape or the way he, you know, isn't attacking? I can't stand seeing him on the perimeter for half the game. I don't know why we continue to do that. And I feel like he's trying to channel that last year's MVP energy. But when you have James Harden, who needs a certain amount of touches, when you need Maxey to have a certain amount of touches, you know, you got to dominate, man. And he's had mismatches so far, and I don't feel like he's taken a, you know, full advantage of them.
I think surprisingly in the Toronto game, I saw more offensive creativity and strategy, at least in the first half of the game, that I've seen in the other 3 games. I think, you know, the first game of the season was the same old, get Joel in the block, force him the ball, wait for the defense to double team him, still try to get it to him, and then hopefully he can pass out of a double team. So I think him playing on the perimeter is more them trying to pick up the pace. And they were dead last in the NBA in pace through the first 3 games of the season. So I guess you're trying to have quicker plays, run the ball more from the top with Harden off of screens. I saw a lot of plays for Joel where Harden comes around a screen at the top and Joel's moving on the block instead of just him backing a man down. So I don't know. I think they're trying to get creative and play the game quicker. But yeah, I would still like to see Joel Embiid, you know, in the paint more and less on the perimeter, especially in the fourth quarter. There was a play last night. Was it last night? It feels like a long time ago already. I've been so mad about this team, but last night, the Raptors game.
Last night.
There was a play in the fourth quarter where James dribbles over and like hands the ball to Joel, like 5 feet outside the 3-point line, and then Joel turns and looks at Maxey, and I'm like, this is a designed play with our center 5 feet away from the 3-point line, almost a half court. Why is he out there? Why is that a play that we're running? What is this? That's was some of the most that's some of the things I was ranting about Brett Brown for so long, that he was doing all these, you know, JJ Redick, Joel Embiid dribble handoffs 10 feet outside the 3-point line, and then when you got to the playoffs against the Toronto Raptors, that equals a turnover almost every single time. And that happened last night. I was like, why is Joel out there handling the ball? Oh, look, double team turnover. Yeah. It's like predictable at this point.
Yeah. So in that case, you know, and in my personal opinion, I don't know if you agree or not, but I feel like we should be running more pick and rolls, not only with Harden and Embiid, but also Maxey and Embiid. I feel like we have different combinations, different things we can do. I really don't know what Maxey's role is, which is why I'm almost starting to believe with the take that we need to move him to the second unit to maximize him, because he's kind of just standing out there on the wing by himself. You know, he gets the ball sometimes. He tries to make a little move of it, but he's not comfortable. You could see he's not comfortable. Our starters are not comfortable with each other. Tobias is trying to buy into that shooter's role. He doesn't look comfortable. The only one that really looks comfortable to me is James, really. And he's been attacking. I've actually really liked his play so far. You know, I think he's been efficient for the most part. There are things I don't like, but I feel like he can at least beat guys off the dribble now. And I feel like this was our biggest question going into the year. What would he look like? And if you told me he was going to be playing like this and at least look to be in shape like this, I thought our offense would be taken to another level. But in fact, maybe we have an issue of we have too many ball handlers. Maybe we don't have, you know, enough complementary pieces around him. What do you think about that?
I just think there's just not enough action happening on the floor in the half court. There's just not enough action. I think, honestly, and it's probably not going to happen anytime soon, or it could if we keep losing. But I think a different coach would get so much more out of Tyrese Maxey than what you're seeing right now. I saw one play last night that I liked, and then I didn't see it again the rest of the game, where James dribbles over to Maxey, does like a dribble handoff screen, and then Joel's right behind James, setting a second screen right behind him. So Maxey's coming off the dribble handoff screen and another screen and getting downhill. If you get Maxey's defenders that have to switch twice as he's running toward the basket, it's gonna be a positive result every single time. And I didn't see it again the rest of the game. So I don't think you're seeing creative, specific plays run for Tyrese Maxey. If you watch other NBA offenses, which I'm sure you do when you have time, You see all kinds of stuff happen. Watch the Memphis Grizzlies. You see all kinds of stuff happening for what's his name, Bane or Ja or whoever else. Like there's so many guys moving and getting the ball and catching the ball off screens and rotating and kicking it back out. There's no movement in this offense at all. It's wild. And that's why you see Maxey just standing out there. It looks like he has nothing to do because he literally has nothing to do. He's like it's like an employee that was hired and wasn't given a job description. Like here, fix the company. I don't know. Go make me more money. And they're like, well, what am I supposed to do? Do you want me to? I don't know. Just go work.
Yeah.
Like and he's 22 years old. Like help him out a little bit, man. He has incredible intangibles. You need somebody that's going to take advantage of it. It's not being taken advantage of right now. But I agree with your take on James Harden, man. I think he's been great so far. Last night, it's the Toronto Raptors. They did a lot of double teaming, a lot of flashing around screens, a lot of guys that are big and fast that can try to take the ball out of his hands. I thought by the fourth quarter he was frustrated and he kind of quit, which pissed me off, especially that last play where, he gets Van Vliet on a switch and doesn't want to take him one-on-one. So I saw bad body language from James in the fourth quarter yesterday. But for the most part, compared to last season, James has been playing great. He's a walking 30-point triple-double every night. We need more movement, more creativity all around.
Yeah.
Outside of that, and James and Joel pick and rolls, Joel and Maxey pick and rolls. I guess the big question is, if you were going to change something with this lineup, what would you change? Because we could talk about Maxey, Harden, and Joel. And then it's like, what does Tobias Harris really do? Is he just supposed to stand there in the corner and catch and shoot threes? Do him and PJ Tucker have the same exact job description on the floor at the same time?
Yeah.
I guess what would you change?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question. If I had to think, you're asking me to change something, I would either maybe experiment Maxey with the second unit, maybe Tobias to the second unit, right? Try to bring in another shooter that can move a little better and grab boards because some games Tobias is just, there's not enough touches to go around. There wasn't really last year. And now that you have Maxey who needs more touches because he is now taking another step, it's like Tobias just has to be a spot up shooter, but he's not consistent enough to do it. One guy that I think would fit if he could actually hit more shots is Daniel House. And that brings up another point as to why are we playing him so much? I mean, I don't know. We just find these guys and we keep them going. I think you need another complimentary piece. And right now, PJ Tucker, he doesn't look nearly the same either. Like, I don't know. He gets a couple shots a game. It's like you said, we don't have structure. We're not putting these guys together. They don't look complementary. They don't look like they fit. And it's very tough. But at the same time, like I said, Harden, Maxey, and Embiid went for 80 last night. That's all we need. That's all we need. And
it is all, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we'll get to honestly, the main issue, in my opinion, is the defensive side of the ball, which I don't even know how to fix at this point. I mean, it's it has been nothing short of disgraceful. That's the best way I can put it. It has been lazy and just without effort, and I just never thought I would see this team playing this way. I mean, they're letting balls go right by them. They're not even trying. Joel doesn't even contest guys at the rim, and then they just kind of walk with their shoulders down back to the bench during the timeout, and I don't see the fire. I guess that's the best way I could put it. I don't see the fire with this team that I thought I'd see.
Yeah, I don't think anybody sees the fire at all. There's no fire at all so far. I'm gonna go look at like how many minutes Daniel House has played on other teams in the past 2 or 3 seasons. Because I gotta be honest, after his Houston days, I didn't even know Daniel House was in the NBA. I don't know who he played for. I have no idea. And then he shows up here. And he gets 35 minutes a game off the bench. Not 35, but you know what I'm saying? Like, it seems like way too much. I don't think anybody was ranting and raving when we signed Daniel House. I don't think anybody was like, oh my God, look, game changer. Look, 6th man of the year candidate. Look, something like he's not Jordan Clarkson for crying out loud. He's just Daniel House. He's just a 3-point shooter who shoots 40% for his career. And he was in the spotlight when James Harden was dropping 60-point triple doubles in Houston. He was catching the ball and shooting it from the corner.
Yeah.
It's just, that's a random player for Doc Rivers to just be like, all right, Daniel House is 20 minutes off the bench. I
Well,
agree with that. I don't know what I would change. I think you need more rebounding. I know with Joel playing the style of play that he plays, I think your four should probably be more of an athletic hustle rebounder type of player.
mhm,
Joel, especially how he's playing now with his, coming back from the plantar fasciitis that nobody knew about,
mhm.
and not contesting anybody at the rim. You add Tobias Harris, who is allergic to hustling and rebounding. Not he's been picking it up, the end of last season. He's trying. It's just not in his DNA. Nobody looks at Tobias Harris and says that's a dog that's going to out rebound you or dive on the floor or anything like that.
Mhm.
And PJ Tucker, I know he is the hustle guy, but he's 6'5". Who can even rebound in the starting lineup? Realistically, who's even the hustle rebounder, like athletic guy, really in the starting lineup?
Yeah.
And I knew we beat the Pacers. I was joking when I put the sunglasses on and said we're in the W, we're in the win column. But I knew when we played the Raptors, everything was going to come back full circle because that's a team that's going to test your athleticism, and we don't look like we have any. Defensively, we
Yeah.
don't have any hustle and athleticism right
Yeah.
now.
And shout out to John Gabbana in the chat. He had a great comment talking about Matisse Thybulle, saying, he was reported to have shocked everyone before the year. You remember all the talk, the hype, all the hype in the training camp week. Oh man, Matisse Thybulle was the hardest worker this offseason. He was in the gym the most. So those words came directly from Doc Rivers and Daryl Morey at Media Day. Yet he hasn't played. He played all 5 minutes in 5 games.
Have they asked Doc Rivers in the press conference yet? Why aren't you playing Matisse Thybulle?
I don't know. I don't believe so. But
They need to put me in the press room.
yeah. I don't get it. Like, how do you have these players and they don't even see the floor? Especially with Matisse Thybulle, the way you talked him up, to me, it almost feels like a trade scenario. Like they're trying to build his value up, but then again, you don't put him on the floor. So how's he supposed to build his value up even more? You're telling me Matisse Thybulle had all off season again to work on his jump shot, and he's still this bad where he cannot even hold a defense accountable. So that's what, 1 off season, 2 off seasons, 3 off seasons. When do we look in the mirror at the player development staff? When do we look at these guys like, why is he not getting better? That's the only thing you need to work on. And now we're in another season, and it's the same result? I mean, that's unacceptable for a team that wants to build from within and win a championship. I don't get it, man.
Yeah, Matisse had a preseason game where he shot 3 for 5 from 3. The first one was an air ball. Second one barely touched the rim, but then he swished 3 in a row. So it still looked totally random and inconsistent. You never know. When he shoots it, it might be an air ball. It might make it. But he still was 3 for 5 at the end of the game. Why would you not try to build off that at the beginning of the season, get his confidence up, experimented the first 10 games of the season and try to see if he can be a part of the rotation? How do you start the season then and just say, nah, you know what, Matisse, 3 for 5 in a preseason game. You look like you might have some potential in that 3-point shot. We're not going to play you at all, actually, this season. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't get it. I don't know how, Doc hasn't been berated more in these press conferences. What did he do to you? What did Shake Milton do to you? Man, I wish there was more we could say, but it just nothing really makes sense right now.
I feel like we've been saying the same things for the first 5
this
games.
Play on the screen is unbelievable. Yeah,
I mean, this is the epitome of the season so far, in my opinion. Like, I don't even want to look at all the defensive miscues and the lack of communication and all that stuff. I mean, we're not clicking.
Player development. At what point does Daryl Morey get upset? Is Daryl Morey sitting back there smiling right now? Like, you drafted Paul Reed. He's not getting on the floor. You drafted Isaiah Joe. He's gone. You drafted Charles Bassey. He's gone. You drafted Jaden Springer. He's not developing. Yeah. What player has this organization developed? What young player? And Tyrese Maxey was supposed to be a top 10 pick. He dropped in the draft because he shot 29% from 3 at Kentucky. But Tyrese Maxey was a stud in college. He had all the potential in the world. I don't really think that counts as a player that was like, what like late first, second round player has this team developed? What player came out of the draft and looked at a C NBA level and got raised to a B by this organization. I don't know any. Korkmaz was a first-round pick. Good Lord. Isaiah Joe's gone. Charles Bassey's gone. And by the way, Dan Burke took over for 4 games last season. You got 12 rebounds and 5 blocks in a game from Charles Bassey, who's no longer on the team. You got 18 points from Isaiah Joe in a game and 11 points the next night off the bench. That's 29 points in 2 nights from Isaiah Joe off the bench in NBA games. He's not on the team anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah. And by the way, when Dan Burke came in last year, the Sixers did not lose a game, by the way. I mean, their energy was off the charts. I don't know. I don't know what it's going to take. But it is very, very frustrating. You have all these Philly teams, like the environment right now in Philadelphia is just, out of the roof. It's out of the gym right now, like with all these teams, right? The Eagles, the Phillies, like Union, everybody. And the Sixers look like they've regressed. I can't take it. I can't take it, man. I feel like we've been saying the same thing for an hour. I feel like we've been saying the same thing for 5 games. I feel like we've been saying the same thing since the first tip off of the season. And
we have, because nothing changes.
Yeah, like sometimes I feel like, or at least in prior seasons, I'm like, okay, this will click, this will get going, it'll take some time. I don't know if I feel that way right now. And that's my biggest concern. So maybe you got to shake something up. Maybe something needs to happen. Or are we going to go throughout this entire season this way? Are we going to be satisfied with maybe the same result? I don't think we can. I don't think people realize, this is kind of one of the last things I want to make in terms of a point. I don't think people realize how close we're getting to this window closing. Like, this could be one of the last years where we have hopefully all of it put together, all the talent, the contracts are right, and we go out and try to chime it in, man. Like, James Harden could honestly, opt out after the season if he really wants to and go somewhere else. Like, it's not like we have all the time in the world. We wasted seasons because of people that were here in the past. We wasted seasons of Joel's prime, and he's younger than, what we would call a typical prime, but maybe this is his prime. Maybe his prime ends at 30, 31. And I don't think people realize how close we are to potentially being in the next phase. So what I would say is, you got to get it, however you do it, you have to get it on track this season. You have to get it back on the right road, and you have to get over the hump this year. You have to. And if you don't, major changes should be in store.
Yeah. Doc Rivers, man, you can look at players in LA. Terrence Mann is an example I always bring up. His mom was interviewed in an article. You had players' parents calling you out. His mom was interviewed in an article saying Doc Rivers is not good for my son. And Doc left LA, and Terrence Mann averaged 10 points per game off the bench under Tyronn Lue. So his just anti-young player thing, he's not getting the most out of anybody. And we keep looking at other teams or the free agent market or whatever. We need more. We need to add this. We add this. At what point do we realize we're not finding anything within our own organization like other teams are doing?
Yeah, we're not. And at that point, it's, you got to go one by one. I mean, we've gotten rid of certain players. We've gotten rid of personnel. We got rid of our last GM. I mean, at some point, you might have to shake things up. So that's kind of where I'm at with it. Shout out to King of the Valley with the $2 super chats. Has told y'all Ayton surpassed Embiid.
He made 3 different accounts now to comment on my YouTube channel. I literally blocked him twice, and he keeps spending money to make comments.
Well, shout out to him. Shout out to him.
King of the Valley. Like, if you're older than 12 years old, do you really think DeAndre Ayton is better than Joel Embiid?
No, he doesn't.
No, he doesn't.
But with that being said, man, once again, shout out to everybody in the chat. Hit the like button. It was a struggle even trying to get this show on the road, but we did. The duo back. We're talking, we're breaking it down. A lot of this show, I get it, might have felt just like a therapy session or a rant. Honestly, that's what it is. I mean, if you want us to be completely honest, it's kind of hard to go game by game and break it all down. Sometimes you just have to take a step back from the game action, the everyday game action, and just kind of talk about what you're seeing. And I feel like we cover every single game. So sometimes we're sucked in that mode of just, analyzing every game. But we had to take a little step back and just kind of have a conversation about what we are seeing, because it is not pretty. It's awful. It's awful. I don't feel good right now as a Sixers fan. So as someone, as us up here and all of you out there tuning in and supporting this team every day and buying merchandise and going to games, and we want to go to games. We want to have fun. We want to have a great time, watch a great team. You got to hold them accountable as well. We all love this team. We want to see them perform well, but right now they are very, very, very much underperforming. They've been highly disappointing. And, the talent that is there, it does not feel like we have a talented team right now. It doesn't.
And when the arena boos their own players, and I guess other fan bases don't understand it or something like that, this city really holds you to a standard because it's a blue collar town. And what that means is people work hard for every dollar that they have, and they want to come and support a $100 million NBA player. But if the $100 million NBA player is jogging up and down the floor, letting guys cut back door, hanging his head, not really trying, they're offended by that. Are you serious? I got to go to work. Yeah. I got to go answer to a boss for 40 hours a week who I don't want to talk to. And then I spend that money to come here and watch a $100 million basketball player, and you give that kind of effort. So that's why it comes out that way. And, you'll never hear Philly fans boo somebody just for missing shots. You'll never hear, Robert Covington a little bit when he was on some stretches of going like 0 for 11. But for the most part, it's an effort thing. When they start to see lack of effort, they absolutely hate it, and they are going to let you know. They don't care if you're a 5-time All-Star. They don't care if you're Allen Iverson in his prime. They're going to let you have it. And Bryce Harper, I always bring up Bryce Harper because he just seems like an athlete that really, really, really gets it. He loves the fact that when he stinks it up, they boo him. Yep. He loves the standard that Philly fans hold their athletes to. And that's a guy, and he might be one of the rarest athletes ever, but that's a guy as the pressure builds, he actually continues to get better. It would be nice to have more of those athletes here. We'll see. I wanted to end it on a good note. Go Phillies. Bryce Harper's the GOAT,
Go Phillies, man. Hey. I'm very excited for that to start tomorrow. Hopefully once, the Phillies end and the Eagles continue to go, hopefully the Sixers hangover or whatever it is, gets better. Hopefully it gets better because we have a lot of basketball to watch. Yeah, man. Appreciate you, coming on to collab. As always, we're going to keep pumping the content. And that's the beauty of this, man. It's not like, we talk about the team once every 2 weeks. No, we're here every day, win or lose, good or bad, up or down, right? New coach, new players, this, that. We're here. We're covering it all. And we see it step by step. So that's where we'll leave it tonight. Sixers play the Raptors tomorrow. What are we expecting from that? Are we going to bounce back and get a W? Doc Rivers said last night, and I quote, he said, they got us on their revenge. Now it's our turn to come out. Now it's our turn to show the energy. Well, are we on the road in a hostile environment? Are we going to come out and go give them an ass whooping? That's what we need to do. That's what we need to do. I just don't know how confident I am in that happening. We need to win 3 of the next 4 games. We need to win 3 of the next 4.
Unless Doc Rivers plans on switching up his rotations and trying to match athleticism with athleticism, unless you see a lot more Paul Reed and Matisse Thybulle try to balance out getting out rebounded, getting out hustled, getting out jumped, getting out ran, I don't see it changing. And I don't see Doc Rivers changing. I think he's going to come right out here. He's going to march out to say he's not going to change the starting lineup. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think he's going to change the first 2 or 3 guys off the bench are going to be George Niang, Montrezl Harrell, and Daniel House. And I think you're going to see the same thing. And then he's going to sit up here and act like it's everyone else's fault. And he's going to say, oh, they just need to play better, man. If they could just play better, Like, that's like,
yeah.
I mean, that's like anybody can say that. Anybody can say that. If I put a 6-year-old against a 9-year-old and the 9-year-old schools him and I'm just sitting here, well, you need to play better. You need to play better. Anybody can say that. That doesn't even mean anything.
So essentially, DJ Eastwood just sat up here and predicted the entire game plan, and it'll probably 95% come true. And we're just guys watching the team. So you already know Nick Nurse knows what's on the radar. So it is
if they lose to Toronto and Chicago, does he get fired before Monday?
If they look the same way, if they come out with no energy, lethargic, not even contesting shots, putting their hands up, I think a change will come sooner than later. I think it'll come sooner than later. I don't think we can continue playing like this and just let everything be all, sunshine and rainbows.
I can't wait to see that notification on ESPN or wherever, on Shams on Twitter. Doc Rivers, and because it won't be his ego won't allow them to, they're going to agree. It's going to be this. Doc Rivers and the Philadelphia 76ers have agreed to part ways. That's what it's going to say. It's not going to say fired. It's even going to make him look better. It's going to say Doc Rivers steps down as head coach of the Philadelphia 76ers. It's going to have to be to make him look good some way, but I'm ready for that to happen. I just am. I'm 100% there. I don't see it getting any better.
Well, as always, we will continue to break it all down, and if something does go down, we'll be first on it to cover it. Phoenix with the $2 super chat. He says, is there a scenario you would consider trading Tyrese Maxey? I would say no way. I don't.
You can't now because, like you just said, this window is closing. You need something after this window is closed. If James, even if James signs another 2 years or something, and Joel plays until he's, I don't know, he's in his prime until he's 32 or whatever, even if it takes 5-6 years, after that, you still have Tyrese Maxey at 27, 28 years old, entering his prime. So, no, you have to keep Tyrese Maxey.
Agreed. And fitness information with the $2 super chat says Doc Rivers is a black Brett Brown. Well, I got to give Brett credit because Brett is the only coach to ever challenge Ben Simmons. And I never thought I'd be saying that at this point in time. Steve Nash lets him do, what he wants. I mean, we were still right about the Brooklyn Nets. I mean, even if the Sixers looked as bad,
easy.
We were still
easy money.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's sending me a video of Ben airballing a 2-foot layup. I mean, it doesn't change. It doesn't change.
The Brooklyn Nets were easy money. No defense, no depth. They traded away all their depth for James Harden, who ended up here, and then they had to panic move and get Ben Simmons in a trade, and he's not bringing anything to your team right now. And somebody posted a reel of like his rookie highlights, and it's actually blowing my mind how bad he is right now, how much he's regressed. He looks bigger, slower. He's completely avoiding the rim. Yeah. It's really sad. I retweeted it and I said, POV, when you get mega rich and stop caring about anything. As soon as he got $150 million and his name was on the dotted line, he didn't touch a basketball.
It's unreal. I can't believe we're seeing, like, again, I'm not afraid of the Nets, but the way that he's playing right now, I can't believe it hasn't changed a bit. But then again, people keep telling him he's doing the right thing. Steve Nash said, we don't care if you ever shoot a shot. So I mean, it's kind of where it's at.
He had 4 points and 2 assists at halftime, and Jamal Crawford on the NBA TV broadcast said at halftime, I like what I'm seeing so far, and I was like, really? Let me go. I had to go check this. 4 points and 2 assists at halftime.
It's crazy.
Everybody's continuing to baby this dude.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just gonna keep going down. Except the best thing that could have possibly happened in his career is getting on a team with maniacs like Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant. Because for 5 years, nobody on the Philadelphia 76ers said anything to him. 4 games in, Kyrie screamed out loud yesterday, Ben, shoot it.
Yep.
And on TV, you could hear him say it. He was so pissed off that he passed him the ball and he was in front of the rim and turned around.
Yeah. And he also went to a team with expectations. So, the spotlight's on. It's not like he went out to Sacramento where they don't care what happens, so just crazy, man.
As a person, like, I don't wish demise on anybody. I wanted Ben Simmons up out of here as bad as I've wanted anything in the world, but I don't hate somebody as a human being. I would be happy if he would suddenly turn his game around, get it back, and become what he was supposed to become. I need people to know that. I don't wish bad on anybody. This is sad what you're seeing from him right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. Shout out to everybody in the chat, though. We appreciate everyone hanging out. Once again, simulcasting Philly Take with RB, running back Philly, number 2 top shows, man. Just breaking down the Sixers. We're talking about it all the time. And win, lose, Doc Rivers here or not, James Harden, Joel Embiid, Maxey or not, we will continue to break it down. Sixers need to get a couple wins here. If they get a couple wins and they look convincing, I'll feel better. But we will just have to wait and see. It's actually kind of good that the Phillies are on in the World Series, so that can hopefully overshadow, and hopefully the Sixers can just pick up a couple wins under the radar and, get back into the mix a little bit.
Yeah, I'm gonna save those Sixers games for the next morning. I'm not ruining watching the World Series by watching the Toronto Raptors and the Sixers live.
Yeah, exactly.
That ain't happening.
Exactly. Anyway, man, go Phillies. At least Philly as a team in the championship, man. Shout out to everybody. Thank you all for coming through. Anything else, DJ? Any last words?
You said, we need, if they win a couple games, you'll change your tune. I don't even think I want them to at this point. I would like for them to keep losing.
We'll leave it at that. I can't root against my team, but I understand your frustration. I get your frustration, man. Things need to change. We'll catch you all on the next one, man. Have a great night, everybody. Peace.